everybody. Welcome to another episode of Wellness for Life podcast with me, your host, Belinda, Coach Beljo. In this podcast, we share the stories of everyday people like you and me who are able to transform their health through simple lifestyle changes. And we do this as a way to inspire you to start your own or just to continue on your own health journey. So today's guest is Yvel Joseph, who is a fitness personal trainer slash transformational coach as well. And we're going to get to hear his story because he wasn't always a coach. But we're going to get to hear his story as well as what he does with his clients. So, Yvel, can you please give us a little bit about yourself? Don't necessarily go into all the details, but just a little bit about yourself.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and hello. My name is Coach Yvel. I go by Coach Yvel because that's my name. But I also go by Coach Joe in some circles. But just to introduce myself, I am a professional coach. I specialize in a variety of things. I do everything from sports conditioning coaching, personal training, but one of the biggest things that I do is that of a life coach. And as a life coach and a transformative coach, I help people reinvent themselves around certain lifestyles and goals. So you have to understand that, we may start off, we may talk fitness, but let's say down the line when we shift 10, 20 years in our lives and the priorities has changed, life has happened. So I work with people and helping them to reinvent themselves. And I look at it from a physical perspective, a mental perspective, a spirit perspective. Okay, and it embodies a whole holistic perspective on my coaching.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for that. And it's good that you said that because like my tagline is renew your mind, transform your health for my Wellness for Life business as well. So like I totally understand how much of the mental, how it's like personal fitness or health and wellness in general is mostly mental anyway. Because if you don't shift the mindset, then the actions, it's either not going to last or it's not going to happen. It's one or the other or both. So either way, so let's get started to hear your journey. So what led you to, or not necessarily to that career path as yet, but what was your involvement or introduction to health and wellness in your personal life?
Well, we have to kind of take a little trip back in time.
Okay.
but to really summarize it, really I had to go through my own transformational, changes. I think many of us, we start off, we go to school, right? And we do our activities, we get degrees, what have you. But whatever it is, we get our life education. I started off outside of being an athlete. I was a high-level athlete from high school as well as collegiate level. And I also continued competing after college. But, when you get out of college, you start your career takes you where it takes you. So I worked very much so in the corporate world. And what's so different about when you get out of school and you step into the corporate world is you now step into a world that may not be comfortable and you have to adapt to. And part of adapting to it, it's no longer that comfortable world as college, as that freedom that you have. It's very structured, it's very rigid. So I work in a very high intense environment, and I was in investment management and in wealth management space. So a lot of it was, high level banking. But nothing against banking, but it's just that for me, I reached a point where the stresses and rigors of the challenges of the job, I felt was not necessarily improving my health and my own lifestyle. I was pursuing a certain level of achievement and trying to chase up the corporate ladder. Well, at the same time, mind you, I saw reprieve when I first became a personal trainer. I was probably just out of college a few years, and I wanted something to do part-time because I enjoyed working with people along fitness and wellness. And down the line, as I'm doing both parallel careers, I realized I had more satisfaction working with people, improving their fitness and their wellness, as opposed to climbing up this corporate ladder and also hitting part of the glass ceiling and seeing limitations on that level. So I decided to take charge of my career. That's when I made a full career shift from moving away from being a financial professional to being more of a fitness and wellness and sports professional. And that's what got me to where I am now.
Wow. Okay, cool. So now, how long did it take for you to make that shift or realize like, okay, I like this, this is not serving me anymore? Was that like a quick thing? Were you already married at that time? Like, how did that, and did you have to consult your wife, or is that something that you did prior to, or how did that go?
Great question. So along all these journeys, we have to have, and if you're fortunate to have a great partner, you have to work well together. Now, when I
Right.
made this career change, fortunately, I was married at the time, and still married to the same lovely woman, and and
That's great,
and
y'all.
working as a team, I had to confide in her. She understands. She realized the stresses I went through, as part of my corporate journey, but as well as the joys that I had along the things that I really enjoy doing. And although we may, we hear fitness, personal trainer, coaches, you know, you have to know what kind of career you're going into.
Right.
When I left the corporate world, you got to understand, I'm leaving, higher paying salaries. I'm leaving a lot of corporate benefits, to do something that I became what's called an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur may sound very sexy, but when you step into being an entrepreneur, you are working on your own. You have to
Listen.
manage all of your finances, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes,
so
you
you
do.
have to have some support,
Yes. Yes, you
right,
do.
Coach Joe, Coach Beljo?
Listen, okay, the struggle's real.
Struggles are
Oh
real.
my, yeah.
Yeah, but to give some perspective into it, it took me a little while to actually make that transformation, because along the way, at the time, I enjoyed personal training. Okay, and we think personal training, wow, you get to work with people, right, and you get to make a lot of money. But when you think about personal training, you work with one person 1 hour at a time. Okay, and coming from a business background, before I changed, I changed sides, I changed careers. It's like selling whatever, right? You have to sell a whole lot of that product. I have to get a lot of clients for me to make a living off of. So I have to really look at my business background. Okay, so what I decided to do is I had to look at what kind of services do I want to provide. So you really have to look at, well, how do you want to transition, and how's that going to support your lifestyle, and in what kind of time frame. So when I transitioned, I realized I had 1/3 of my business became personal training clients that I was developing. I love doing group fitness. One of my specialties is boot camp, anything martial arts based. As a martial artist, also as a martial arts practitioner. So I started doing a lot of self-defense and boot camp based group fitness classes, which attracted a larger group of people. And being
Right.
that I was coming from the corporate world, I started outsourcing a lot of my services to other corporate companies. So now I was now establishing corporate fitness programs for these companies. So I needed to
That's
have multiple streams of income,
right.
and being that I understood the corporate world and working within that environment helped me people reduce their stress levels, creating outlets for them in the middle of the day. It became that those three buckets worked well for me.
Wow.
And
Okay.
that's how I started to develop, the business of my company at the time. It's called Performance Fitness and Training.
All right. All right. Cool. That's dope. So now, what are some of the biggest challenges you see some of your clients facing? So when they come to you, what are some of the biggest challenges you see them um, presenting?
Right. So I'll give you some perspective. Okay, here it is when I left the corporate world, and for me to leave the corporate world, I had more people talking to me about the stresses that they're having and dealing with their daily lives. Okay, that was one. Now, what are stressing people out? Okay, anxieties of schedules, anxieties, or stresses around having meet deadlines. So when they found someone like myself to speak with, they're allowed to kind of let their hair down. They were able to relax. They were able to talk to me in a way that made them feel a lot better about what they're doing.
Right.
Okay, I help them to get off that anxiety trip. Okay, help them release a lot of the stress by helping them find out, well, what are some other strengths you have? What are some other goals you want to pursue? So a lot of my clients, it became not just the physical and personal training aspect. It became speaking with someone that understands their world, whether they're in a financial world, just a corporate setting. But I was able to help them find a release around, hey, let's try something new. However, one key thing that I challenge them on is, before we start doing anything, let's create some goals. I want you to find a fun goal. So now people say, hey, I always wanted to hike, bike. I want to go on a vacation. I want to do these things. I want to fit into this little black dress and look great at it, look cute at it. that became more of a goal around how I work with them towards fitness. So now
Right.
fitness became, how do I redefine your curves, right? You want to fit into that little black dress. How do I get you to build the stamina to climb Mount Kilimanjaro? How do I prepare you to run your first marathon or your first 5K? So you see, so the goals became really around helping people around their lifestyle. And as I introduced fitness into it, it just made it a lot more fun for them as well as for me.
That's dope. So tell us about so that's your client. So in terms of you, like what are some of the things, or did you use some of the same tools or principles in your own life in order to help you maintain the lifestyle, the healthy lifestyle that you are currently living or exemplifying?
Absolutely, you have to. You have to hold strong to your principles. And for me, just like you have your mantra, my mantra is I have to look alive. And it's not looking alive just today. I want to look alive
Yeah.
always. So
Yeah.
with that
I remember
mantra
that.
being look alive, the look alive became not just looking it, it had to be feeling it, embodying, just that lively energy. So for myself, I had to make sure I was getting all these things in. So I'm a very active person. So as I mentioned, I was an active martial artist. But for me, it was just really became networking. Every environment that I stepped in, I love hiking. If I step out there, I had to just really be intentional and engaging in these kind of environments. Because when you put energy out, you receive energy in.
That's right.
So lifestyle was very important. So that way I had to take care of my health. It was
Right.
key that I know how to eat well. I made time for myself to exercise, but I also had to make time for myself as far as decompressing. A lot of times we're go, go, go. Okay, and I
Right.
found myself always on the move, always on the go, but I never made time for myself to breathe and sit back and reflect, and meditate. So these are things I now coach on also, points of meditating. So yes, a lot of these things that we do for ourselves, it helps us naturally be able to engage with our clients. And if you're not doing these things for
That's
yourselves, then
good. That's
how can
good.
you be a better coach for your clients?
That's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. Health and wellness professionals, I mean, we know what to do and we try our best to exemplify that lifestyle. But then there are going to be days where, everyone has those days where you just like you're not feeling it. Like,
Right.
so if you have you ever come across those days, and how do you push through, and also how do you encourage your clients to push through those days?
Right. So to be truthful, I had to understand what my purpose was, as far as what I was doing. When you're working for
Okay.
yourself, you have to have your own drive. Okay. So for me to motivate my clients, they have to understand, or I have to understand, what's my drive. The drive was not necessarily just about money. Money is just like the end result, but what my drive for myself, it had to be, is what's my purpose. Why do I go to work every day? What's the kind of impact I want to have on my clients? Because my clients look to me just as much as I look to any other professional for a particular service or particular engagement. So I had to reevaluate what's my purpose in what I do. And when you take on the mantle or the title of a coach, you're having to help people in a lot of different ways. So whether you are a health professional, let's say especially as a nurse, there's a lot of caring that goes on there.
Right.
Okay. Whether you're a doctor, there's a lot of expectations as far as professionalism, right? So the same thing with a coach, you've got to be a good listener. You've got to be able to know how to apply your special skills. So for myself, understanding what my purpose became, now my mantra became, how do I help others look alive and feel alive?
Right. Okay.
So for me to get up every day, I had to understand that I had a duty. I had a job. I had people relying on me. People were expecting that kind of level of energy that I brought to the table, and I couldn't let them disappoint. I couldn't disappoint
Right.
them. Although we get these days where we're not feeling great, but this is where you got to tap into your own energizer battery and say, let's go, let's get it done.
Right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That is so true. Because I know sometimes I'm like, okay, I gotta do this because I'm like, I can't be encouraging people if I do X, Y, Z, and then I'm slacking off. You know what I mean?
That's
So
right.
that makes all the sense too. I had another question. I kind of slipped my mind, but what were some of the, if you can name like one of the biggest things that people struggle with, like clients, what would it be? What's the one biggest issue that you feel like clients struggle with when it comes to maintaining consistency in a healthy lifestyle?
Well, I think a lot of times too, we do deal with our own fears. Okay, and although I'm throwing the word fear out there, right? It's not about being scared. I tell people sometimes when you set a goal and you set a challenge, you can't be afraid to go after it and actually achieve it. So we tend to get caught up on, for example, a lot of people want to lose weight. Well, if your goal is to lose 10 pounds, what happens after those 10 pounds if the goal is just the 10 pounds?
Right.
Because when you reach that ideal weight, or at least what you think it will be, there's a whole lifestyle that comes with it. There's other challenges that comes with it. You could have to buy a whole wardrobe. Are you ready to buy that wardrobe? Okay, are you ready to identify in that size? So really, sometimes it's really helping people to understand that, you know, you can do just about anything you put your mind to, right? I can do all things through. I mean, you probably heard that verse before. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Well, if you believe it, you know, how do you pursue it? How do you go after it? So I find that a lot of times people are coming to me because they not only have a goal, but they want somebody to help validate how they're going to get to that goal.
Right.
Develop that confidence to say, hey, I believe you can do it because you put that on me. So if someone's going to challenge me to help them get to a certain goal, I have to make sure that they get every aspect of confidence that they can do this. And now, therefore, it becomes that journey that we take together, that, you know, to get them to the top of the mountaintop, proverbially.
It's interesting that you said it was fear. Something that when I remember when I was going through my health coaching training, one thing that clicked for me was when the teacher, or whatever we want to call her, but she said that, like, sometimes people are not ready to lose that identity that they have with the current struggle. Like, for example, if they're always in pain because, okay, maybe they're overweight and they always have knee, you know, joint pain. Changing their lifestyle, and byproduct would be losing some weight. That changes that now, because now they're a person who may have little to no pain, and they may not know how to deal with that. And you're right. So then the fear is real because, like, there's a whole other lifestyle that's associated with it, and we don't know how to deal with that. Like, you have, like, somebody maybe in certain cultures, for women, being plumper is more attractive. So maybe someone is, a woman is experiencing some health issues, and maybe she needs to lose a little bit, but she's afraid she might not be as attractive to her spouse if she is married or to, like, the opposite sex. And so, like, that fear is super real. You know what I mean? Or someone may have just fear just to be healthy in general, but then now you have to maintain. Maybe you like to eat certain things. And then you feel like, okay, once you change that lifestyle, once you change, there are certain things you can't eat, and you are not ready, or, like, don't want to let go of certain foods, right? So,
that's right.
And it is challenging. And that's when you realize that. And I've told clients this before, and just people in general, that health and wellness is not just the things that we do. It's not just action. It's more so mental, because we have to push through, and we have to come face to face with those challenges and those fears in order for us to push through them and to move to the next level.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you just summed it up. You know, you just created a very strong summary, because, so again, the opposite side of fear, for example, for a lot of people, is really having that self-confidence. Okay, self-confidence, self-esteem, the self-worth that, you know what, you know, I should be able to get to this point, right? No, not just I should be able to get to this point. You know, you can earn getting to this level. Okay, how do you see yourself somewhere if you can't really see the vision? Okay, you have to see yourself losing the weight. Now, let's not even talk about weight. I'm just going to give you a few examples. Many years ago, I had the opportunity of working with 4 women. And out of these 4 women, they wanted to create a stronger bond between each other. So when they came to me, they said, hey, we want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Now, Mount Kilimanjaro is all the way out in Tanzania, Africa. You know, it's one of the world's tallest mountains. It's probably somewhere within the top 5 or so of the world's tallest mountains to be able to climb.
Yes.
You don't climb Mount Kilimanjaro in a day. It takes about 5 to 7 days to actually make your way up to the top with, you know, support and with assistance and everything, you know, from Sherpas carrying your equipment, you know, you know, having to pull out your tents and everything. So this was a very big challenge. So it takes about 5 days to get up there, maybe about 2 days to come to descend. That's a 7-day adventure. Okay.
Wow.
So when these 4 women came to me, Out of these 4 women, 3 of them were overweight. Okay, and again, not to throw age, not that it's a factor, but all these women were within their late 30s, early 40s. But the important thing is that they wanted to take on a different life's challenge. They wanted to accomplish something purposeful. So
Right.
my the challenge that they gave me is, how do I get the 3 who were very overweight in shape? The 4th one was in decent shape. Now, how do I start getting them to be able to just hike through these trails, develop stamina? One of them was an active smoker. How do I get you now to understand the need of quitting smoking? So it becomes a case where when you take on a challenge, you have to be willing to give some things up, make some sacrifices.
Yes.
So
Yes,
for
yes,
these
yes.
women, at the end of many months, we probably started our training sometimes at the end of March, beginning of May, and their trip was supposed to happen in September. Okay, so we had something roughly around 5 months to prepare for this. For some people, you have a lot more time that you have to put in. However, we put the work in. Okay, it wasn't pretty. There was a lot of mornings where we're hiking, we're doing some things that they just didn't like. But the end goal is, how do I help them to alleviate some of the fears that they have about their own personal selves?
Right.
It's no longer about the weight anymore. It's about, okay, your mental fitness, your physical fitness, your spiritual strength. Do you believe in yourself? As a coach, I got to tell them, I believe in you. You're going to make this happen. So
Yeah.
ultimately, all 4 women were able to accomplish climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, okay, which is an amazing feat. So again, what do we bring in as a specialty? How do I bring that kind of coaching to individuals who want to create this huge, change within themselves? Well, it has to start off where you have to understand people. We all have this bigger thing that we really want to accomplish, but sometimes we don't know how to go about doing it. We need the right encouragement, the right buttons to be pushed, and having somebody believe that you can do it goes a long way. And that's why you go after your coaches.
That is so true. It does go a long way. And it helps because then you have the accountability, you have to support. So it's funny because
Exactly.
this episode is almost like a push for health coaching. Hire one. You know what I mean? Right? But then it's not necessarily that. It's just more so understanding that and I like this episode because usually we talk about the physical part of it, and maybe we'll talk about the mental, like how it helps with depression, all that stuff. But then this episode is totally different in that it engages more so the mind in a different way, like facing your
Yes.
fears, challenges, and believing in yourself, believing that we can do it. Because once you see, and it's easy to get discouraged. Because this is
Yes.
one of the reasons why I made this podcast. Because you're going through Instagram and Facebook, you're looking at all these pictures of before and after, and you're thinking, okay, maybe this can never be me, or oh, lucky them, or you're thinking all the things, but then we never turn it inward in a more positive light and say, you know what, if so-and-so can do it, I can do it too. And so it's really understanding, yes, you can do it. Will it take some work? Yes, it will. Will it be easy? No, it won't. But will it be worth it? Yes, it will.
Yes, it will.
You know what I mean? Because usually the changes are simple. They're just not all easy to follow through, especially if we're living a certain type of lifestyle for X amount of months, years. We're not going to flip it over overnight and ta-da! You know what I mean? It's going to take some time. And hence having the accountability and the support in the form of coaches, maybe a counselor, maybe a therapist, whatever it is essential in that journey towards health and wellness. So this has been like a super awesome episode. Any last words you want to say? Maybe someone's on the fence, so I don't know. Any last words you want to say to anybody who for that extra push? Anything else?
Listen, to all you superstars out there, I only work with superstars because we have to find a way to shine, right? Don't be afraid. I think seeking the necessary like as Coach Beljo said, counselors, coaches, what have you, friendship even, step out on faith sometimes. You got to step out on faith. Life is not meant for us to just kind of be born and then we wait for the tail end.
Right.
Okay? When you go to a gravestone, there's a birthday and there's a dash in between. And unfortunately, there may be some end dates. We don't know when our end dates are. But this dash, don't let it be a straight line. Take the adventure in it. Make it a squiggly line. You have to live as much as you can while you're here. So you have to go out there, take on some new experiences. By doing that, you get to live life, to the fullest, on your terms, and bring a friend with you along the journey.
That is awesome.
And of course, we finish off with the mantra: get out there and look alive.
That's right. Look alive. Yeah, we definitely have to look. Don't be dragging around half dead.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That is awesome, Coach Yvel. I really appreciate you having, sectioning out a time to chat with us. This is probably the episode that I didn't think we needed, but we actually needed. I didn't even know which way it was going to go. Sometimes you just don't know. But I'm actually happy it went the way it went, because I do believe that we all, in our quest to getting better, and especially now we talk about self-care and all this stuff and what have you, it's there are a lot of obstacles, and a lot of people are looking towards health and wellness, and so
yes.
This is nice for them to hear that the mental piece, the getting over the fear piece, and it was great. I don't have words. I don't want to say too much, because I may end up rambling. So I'll just leave it there. So I hope that you all gain awesome gems from this interview, from this episode. I know I personally did. And getting over the fear to do anything is real. Maybe we're afraid of success. Maybe we're afraid of failure. Maybe we've done it before and we didn't accomplish our goals. So you're just scared to even try again. I mean, that happens, and it's real. But in order for us to live life to the fullest, like how Coach Yvel said, is just kind of get back up and keep going and doing it, and maybe doing it differently. Maybe this time, instead of doing it by yourself, you invite a friend or a partner or a family member or a coach, or more than one coach, or personal fitness trainer. You know what I mean? So do it differently. Don't give up on it. As long as you have breath in your lungs and you have another day on this planet Earth, do not give up on your health and wellness goals, or goals in general, as long as they're going to push you forward and they allow you to live life to the fullest. So thank you so much, Coach Yvel. Comment, subscribe, let me know what you think, let me know the feedback, and definitely share with others, because there's always going to be someone else in your circle that needs to hear this. Thank you so much. Till next time.